CJ Flyer back with the fire in another YouTube video. Today teaching you my top 5 tips regarding recruiting with NIL in College Football 27 Dynasty Mode. Whether you're brand new to the EA Sports college football franchise, or you're transitioning over from College Football 26 into College Football 27, these tips will be highly valuable to you in building your program. Starting off with tip number 1, preseason expected NIL does not correlate with the starting overall or dev trait of a given recruit. From the data I've collected since the game is released, recruits with higher starting expected NIL than other recruits of the same star rating, position, and archetype do not necessarily have a better starting overall or a better development trait. To give an example, here's a quick data analysis of a 35-player sample of 3-star dual-threat quarterback high school recruits that I collected within the same recruiting class while playing a dynasty as Ohio State. The sample includes 22 normal dev, 9 impact dev, 3-star dev, and 1 elite dev players. We can see from this first chart here that the average expected NIL for the normal dev quarterbacks was almost twice as much as the impact dev quarterbacks of this sample. And on top of that, the 1 elite dev quarterback had 0 expected NIL in the preseason. Furthermore, looking at this second chart, we can see that the expected NIL also gives no indication as to what the recruit's starting overall will be going into next season. Now, I do realize that this is a small sample size, but from additional data I've been collecting and from my own anecdotal experience so far in playing the game, the initial expected NIL for a recruit during the preseason gives no indication whatsoever as to what this recruit's starting overall or dev trait is going to be. So in a nutshell, if you find a recruit that has very low expected NIL in the preseason, and in scouting them they have the same or better ratings than another comparable player, I'd encourage you to go for that lower expected NIL player, especially if that lower expected NIL player is a gem on top of everything. Alright, moving on to tip number 2. You don't need to offer a scholarship in order to sign a recruit in College Football 27. Whether you're a larger program looking to set aside some dynasty points for elite coordinators and facility upgrades, or you're a small program trying to nickel and dime your way to the top, if you're anywhere from 4 to 10 weeks through the regular season, you might see some 4 and 5-star recruits that have 0 scholarship offers or influence added from other schools. If you have the recruiting hours available, you could just send the house and then later hard sell on a recruit with 0 competition without offering a scholarship and still gain influence for them. Eventually they'll verbal commit to your school and then later hard commit without you having to offer a scholarship with any NIL attached. Of course, as the player progresses through their college career, they may end up requesting some NIL during the end of season recap, but that amount is often lower than what they were initially expecting during their high school recruiting period. Okay, tip number 3. Expected NIL is not the same for every school. Just as you would expect in real life, in College Football 27 Dynasty Mode, smaller programs have to pay additional NIL money for higher rated recruits than well-established power conference programs. So if you're rebuilding a small 0 to 2-star program, I'd recommend waiting a few seasons to pursue those higher rated 5-star recruits until you've built up school grades such as brand exposure and stadium atmosphere, which have an influence on how many dynasty points you have every season. Otherwise, those additional dynasty points could be better spent elsewhere to further boost your program over time and make it more desirable for the higher rated recruits to commit in future seasons. Tip number 4, overspending on NIL. Don't overcommit on dynasty points for NIL spent on high school recruits during the regular season. You might have noticed that the displayed number of dynasty points remaining in the recruiting interface is a higher number than what you see on the dynasty submenu screen. This is because the number of dynasty points you see in the recruiting interface is estimating the additional dynasty points that will be available at the end of the season after your seniors with committed NIL graduate, your school grades change, and other upgrades expire. However, this estimation is not always correct. Additionally, those points might be the ones you've wanted to set aside for some temporary upgrades to equipment. If you do allocate all those dynasty points available during the regular season high school recruiting, you'll only have the dynasty points earned from meeting AD expectations and other bonuses during the offseason. Furthermore, you may be left with very few, if not 0 dynasty points available for recruiting going into the next season as well. So I will have a future video regarding how to manage your dynasty blueprint, but as a very quick tip for now, I would recommend doing your own manual calculation of how many dynasty points you can spend on recruiting, by counting up the number of Dynasty points that you are currently spending for NIL for your seniors that will graduate. And then add that number of Dynasty points to the Dynasty points that you see in the Dynasty submenu screen. Ignore whatever you're seeing in the recruiting interface. Last but not least, tip number 5. You cannot adjust your scholarship offer after a recruit verbally commits. Let's say you're competing for multiple recruits to fill a single position need on your roster. You don't necessarily want to sign too many recruits to fill in at that position, because then you might be forced to cut players at other positions during the encouraged transfer window at the end of the offseason. If you have multiple recruits on your board for that single position and are leading them all in interest, make sure you remove the ones you least desire from your board before they verbally commit. Because once a recruit verbally commits, you're unable to remove them from your board or edit their scholarship. At that point, you'd have to hope that a competing school will beat you to a hard commit from that recruit instead. With all that being said, leave a comment down below if you have any further questions regarding recruiting with NIL and College Football 27 Dynasty, and click one of the videos on your screen now for some more College Football 27 Dynasty tutorials.